Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey there, welcome to Juneteenth 2023. I was thinking how absolutely right it was for Juneteenth to be declared a federal holiday. If you stop and think about what Americans should pause to reflect upon and note and celebrate, I can't think of anything more consequential than finally the freedom from slavery. The darkest blot on this nation's soul. And I'm really, to think that it took this long is amazing. Of course, it was Joe Biden who signed that into law, made the proclamation. When Democrats control, we do move forward. One other thing I came upon, it moved me. It's a poem written by a poet I did not know. Obviously a black poet. His name is Robert E. Hayden. And I believe this was published in the Atlantic in the 50s, this Robert Hayden poem. And apparently Hayden's poetry is, well, it says here, haunted by the ghosts of that bloody process of becoming free. And a lot of his poems deal with the reality of black slavery, the Underground Railroad, things like that. But he wrote this, and I want to just share it with you, extolling the magnificence of one man, the consequential life of one astonishingly incredible man. And the more I know of that man, reading his work, the more in awe I am. And that man is Frederick Douglass. And Robert Hayden wrote this of Frederick Douglass, and I just want to try to read it to you. I just found it today. When it is finally ours, this freedom, this liberty, this best and terrible thing, needful to man as air, usable as the earth, when it belongs at last to our children, when it is truly instinct, brain matter, systole, reflex action, when it is finally one, when it is more than the gaudy mumbo jumbo of politicians, this man, this Douglass, this former slave, this Negro beaten to his knees, exiled, visioning a world where none is lonely, none hunted, alien. This man, superb in love and logic, this man shall be remembered. Oh, not with statues, rhetoric, not with legends and poems and wreaths of bronze alone, but with the lives grown out of his life, the lives fleshing his dream, the needful, beautiful. Robert E. Hayden and Frederick Douglass. And a happy and meaningful Juneteenth. And now to less wondrous fare, and someone who couldn't hold Frederick Douglass's, I can't even play. It's amazing they're the same species. I just want to get a few Donald Trump notes out of the way so we can let go of that. Here, what did I see? Never mind, I can't find it. I saw somebody talking about him. I just want to do it and then set away, because he is actually one of the things I wanted to share with you, and I'm sure some of you did read it, was David Brooks' piece, "I Won't Let Trump Invade My Brain." And I think it's something we should all take to heart, but it is nigh impossible to not have him take up space. It's one of the more vile things he has brought with him. Wow, really, when history is written, it will be hard to catalog, to note the destructiveness of this one vile human being and what he has wrought. One damaged, truly damaged, crippled man. And what he has managed. Anyway, a few things I came across that I did want to share. And it's weird because David Brooks says, "I won't let Trump invade my brain." Meanwhile, Maureen Dowd uses the same kind of imagery, but I think she gets it. She really gets it right. She says that he has burrowed tick-like into the national bloodstream, causing all kinds of septic response. Isn't that to me? I read that and I thought, there it is, because it makes him, because he's not human then. He's an insect. He's a blood-sucking insect invading the bloodstream, sucking off the blood of this nation. Tick. Actually, the Times, people who write opinion pieces for the Times were asked how seriously should this country take the potential candidacy of Donald Trump. And I appreciated Frank Bruni Bruni's response the most. We should take it with maximal, bone-chilling, psyche-ravaging, hope-slaying seriousness. And another question posed to all of them, these opinionated types, was what matters most about Trump as a presidential candidate? And I especially appreciated Michelle Goldberg's response. There was a lot of debate in 2016 about whether Trump was a fascist. That debate is settled. He is offering himself as the quasi-mystical embodiment of his supporters' will, glorifying the violence of January 6th and promising retribution against enemies who make up half the country. I'm sure you read the same stuff I do, but these are the things that jump out at me, and I want to, share them, especially for those who didn't read everything I read, like the New York Times, right, and the Washington Post. And this also from Maureen Dowd's column. She quotes David Axelrod and saying something that is right on too. Axelrod says, being a sociopath really works for him. Isn't that something? It's true. Being the sociopath he is, that's his, it works. And he's learned how to make it work. But make no mistake, he's a sociopath. He is a damaged, dangerous man. And again, to quote Dowd, his disordered mind has caused public disorder. That too encapsulates the damage. And then I think, she gets a little psychiatric, but man, I think she's got it absolutely right. She says during the 2016 campaign, reporters said Trump traveled with cardboard boxes. Cardboard boxes full of real estate contracts, newspaper clippings, schedules, as though he were carrying his world around with him. The guy likes paper. His favorite words are personal pronouns and possessive adjectives, like Kevin McCarthy is my Kevin. Army officers are my generals. He has a favorite dictator, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. He says, my favorite dictator. And even in that indictment, there is the quote, that, to me, funny quote, chilling but funny quote about his purloined papers, not his. And the quote is, I don't want anybody looking through my boxes. So Dowd says this sort of hoarding of objects and things we're talking about a sociopath here, a particular sociopath we've all come to know. Sociopaths sucking our nation's blood and living in our brains. But this need he has, she says, it bespeaks a frailty, a need to be bolstered by these talismanic objects. She points out when he was a mere real estate developer and reality star, his office in Trump Tower was papered in framed magazine covers so that his face stared back at him from every angle like an infinity mirror. And she says he must worry without pieces of paper to prove I am important. Important. All right. And then, as I mentioned before, a little from David Brooks. And then I hope, not mentioning his name again today. This is David Brooks' column from Friday, I Won't Let Trump Invade My Brain. And again, I'm not giving it all to you. He says, and I can concur, I have consistently underestimated his depravity. Yeah. And then Brooks goes on to say, and yet I cannot quite feel ashamed of my perpetual naivete for Donald Trump. I don't want to be the kind of person who can easily enter into the head of an amoral narcissist. That's right. It's what I was saying last week. I am a very empathetic person. I cause myself a lot of grief by imagining myself in others' shoes, but I can't do it with him. I cannot enter the head of such a monster, of an amoral narcissist. Brooks says, I've been thinking about all this while bracing for the 17 months, oh God, 17 months of campaigning that apparently lie ahead, with Trump probably once again the central focus of our nation's consciousness. Donald Trump, by his mere presence, is an assault. There is only his inordinate desire to have more than his fair share of everything. And even when Trump doesn't hold political power, state power, when he is merely campaigning for power, Trump does still wield immense power, cultural power. And if you look at what his presence, that powerful presence, does to our culture, Brooks says the categories we use to evaluate the world lose their meaning. cruelty and kindness, integrity and corruption, honesty and dishonesty, generosity and selfishness. High-minded values begin to seem credulous and absurd because Trump's gospel, what he teaches, what those who adore him are drawn to, is his worldview, that people are basically selfish. Raw power runs the world. All that matters is winning. Under his influence, subtly and insidiously, people develop nihilistic mindsets. Trump has already corroded an entire political party. But it spreads, its corrosive influence spreads far beyond that. And I'll finish with his final words. Any stable social order depends on a sense of legitimacy. This is the belief and faith that the people who have been given authority have a right to govern. They wield power for the common good. But Trump, of course, assaults this value. Prosecutors are not serving the rule of law, they're serving Joe Biden's political aims. Civil servants are nothing but deep state operatives that take Trump down. And this cynical, and his narcissism has become so pervasive in this country that he has created this skepticism. Well, no, he's taken skepticism of our institutions and turned it into endemic distrust, a jaundiced cynicism. Everything is corrupt. Finally, over the coming months, we face not merely a political contest, but a battle between those of us who believe in ideals, even though it can make us seem naive at times, and those who argue that life is a remorseless struggle for selfish gain. Their victory would be a step toward barbarism. Well, you have it. Okay, I'm leaving him now. Barbara, though, says that Bill Barr Trump's Attorney General, of course, who did his bidding, apparently said on Face the Nation that Trump is a consummate narcissist. Tell us something we didn't know. Constantly engages in reckless conduct that puts his political followers at risk and the conservative political agenda at risk. Yeah. He said he always puts his interest ahead of the country's. His personal gratification of his ego. But Barr said our country can't be a therapy session for a troubled man like this. And what was it, I wonder, Bill Barr, that you didn't see when you served him? God. This idea that Barr now, can erase the damage he did in cahoots with Trump. Give me a break. a few things I thought. I saw a picture of Secretary of State Blinken. That had to be a weird name to grow up with. Blinken, winking, blinking, and nod. But Blinken. Anyway, the picture of the Secretary of State with the dictator of China, Xi. And what struck me is the picture is that obligatory picture that is taken when heads of state or two very important people, are meeting. And it's that handshake picture. And it has often struck me how difficult that handshake is for both people engaged in it often, because they have to, it's a picture intended to show their audience, for Xi, his people, for Blinken, us, how they really feel, even though they're shaking hands. And this one is particularly awkward. For one thing, Xi is being rude as he shakes Blinken's hand, because in the picture, Blinken is turned to him to shake his hand, and Xi has given him his hand, but is not looking at him. Is staring instead off to the front, has given him his side, a profile, and his hand. And Blinken's face is, it's not like you smile for the camera. I can't imagine. I wonder if any of these people practice in front of a mirror what their face is going to attempt to say in these stilted, stagecraft, but important photos. Much is made of these kinds of photos. You don't want to get them wrong. Like Blinken would not have wanted to be smiling heartily, right? You got to get it right. But boy, as these pictures go, I have to tell you, that was, I thought, on G's part, rude. And I took exception. Oh, God. I couldn't believe this story. It was at I could not believe it. It was at a front page of the Times today. It says, contraception is next battle. I never watched The Handmaid's Tale, but I think I maybe should. Because we're just getting closer and closer to that dystopic view, right? What do you mean contraception is next battle? It is. Let me tell you something. At the state level, there is an effort by Democrats to get into state law by constitutional amendment. I mean, this has gone on with abortion. This has happened, right? Get into the state constitution or by statute that there is a right to this, to abortion. And some states have done that. But they're now doing it for contraception. And you could ask, what? You mean they're thinking of making contraception illegal? Well, yeah, maybe. Anyway, 13 states and the District of Columbia have taken steps to protect the right to contraception. But something happened in Nevada. And Nevada has a Democratic-controlled legislature. They passed the bill to protect contraception in Nevada. And Friday, the governor, a Republican, vetoed it. He vetoed it. So, is this next? Maybe. There are people who are a lot closer to the politics of it that say, yeah, this is next. So Senator Edward Markey of Massachusetts and some congressperson have introduced legislation on the federal front to create a national right to contraception. And let me tell you, that's dead in the water. Now stop and think about that. That will not pass the Congress of the United States, that Americans have the right to contraception. That will not pass. Why? Because Republicans are in the Congress. Too many of them. Way too many of them. And they will vote against it. Now, let me be perfectly clear. There are Republicans who will not vote that way. As in Nevada, there were some Republicans that joined Democrats. But the Republican governor vetoed it. And this is a growing threat. Senator Markey says, well, all this is the result of the Dobbs decision. You know, I feel for that guy. It was a guy named Dobbs. He was a state office holder. I mean, that your name, you know, how because he was in a position, it was his name that then typified, you know, the case. I feel for him to have his name forever be blotted by being associated with this incredible step backward. Anyway, Edward Markey called the Dobbs decision a preview of coming atrocities, because he took Justice Thomas at his word. And Thomas, as you recall, said in his opinion that the Dobbs decision should open up questions about the right to contraception. So there you have it. Brave new world. I want to say something, and I feel like, did you see that? It's like nobody wants to talk about it, but I'm going to. And my heart just goes out to him. I'm talking about John Fetterman, who's been through hell and back, almost losing his life to a stroke, still managing to campaign, losing his ability to articulate his thoughts, falling understandably into a severe depression, then battling the depression and coming back out. But he still, he is not recovered. He cannot speak well. But in his position, he is forever being put in the position of having to speak. To speak in a congressional hearing. There was a video of him from some hearing where he was asked to talk about the bridge collapse in Philly. And I have to tell you, you cannot watch it without feeling, just incredible pain and a sense of embarrassment for him. He's a bright man. He's not unaware of this affliction he now has. And then that was followed by an appearance in Philadelphia with the president and the governor and others, in which Fetterman, speaking, again struggled so. And the president, this kind man, is standing next to him, looking so uncomfortable. As Senator Fetterman tries to say, a coherent sentence or say a word. And Biden, the stutterer, certainly knows of this kind of pain. But Fetterman standing there, cameras rolling, presidents, governors around him, eyes on him, knowing he cannot do this right now. He cannot speak like he wants to speak. He cannot speak the thoughts that are in his head. He can't get the thoughts out through his mouth in a comprehensible way. He could not say infrastructure. And and to see Biden, just the stutterer who would know, it broke my heart. But I want to say this because it's a thought that did occur to me. I really think it's not that he's not capable of doing the job. It's that this man needs to take care of himself. And how is he supposed to do that in this public glare? Because these things are being used. I mean, you can't be on Twitter or social media and not see these things and the ridicule of conservatives and the right of him. It's so ugly. How is he supposed to maintain his battle to not slip back into depression with all that he has to contend with? I just think if I loved him, I don't care how much he wanted this. He got it. He won. My advice to him as a friend would be, John, step down. Step down and take care of yourself. You will not be letting down the people who put you there. Governor Shapiro, and you can talk to him about who it should be, will put in your stead someone who is ideologically, in step. And you will have secured the seat for the Democrats. But you got blindsided by this stroke. And you have not been able to. I'm sorry, that's what I'm thinking. I can't, he's shown such bravery in continuing to run, in taking on his depression in such a public way. I think the next incredibly brave thing he could do is to take care of himself and stand down. I'm not saying I, as a citizen who voted for him, don't feel like he's capable of representing me, but I think the job is so much about talking. It's about talking. It's about speaking. That's what senators do. I don't know. I'm throwing that out there for what it's worth. Another thought I had after this Taylor Swift weekend in Pittsburgh, I have to tell you, I don't know her music. I think I'm going to make an effort to listen. She's apparently such a prolific songwriter. I could spend weeks listening to everything she's done. But I have obviously become amazed at the power she wields and seems to wield very well. And I want to say that I've never seen, has there ever been anything like this where, in my day, a stadium full of screaming girls would have been screaming at the Beatles, at men, they would not have been reacting with such emotion to another woman. That seems to me such an incredible sea change. And that she clearly empowers girls. If you look at the girls who are, so enamored of her, who filled, Acrisure set records, they are of the age when being a girl turning into a woman is most fraught. And it's my understanding that's what her songs are all about. And then she seems to be such a kind presence on stage, from what I've, again, seen, that she's a true power, cultural power. And I'm not even talking about her music. I'm talking about the way she, I think, empowers and helps young girls, young women. Heavy responsibility she's taken on, but she seems to do it well. That's all I'm saying. I've been stunned by it. Really. How different things are. I'm glad. America does move forward. It's Juneteenth, and Acrisure Stadium was filled to overflowing 2 nights in a row as mostly tens of thousands of young girls and women went to scream their love to another woman. I love it. Those are changes. Those are big changes. And they have an impact. They have an effect. There had to have been some boys at that time, men, right? If only fathers taking their joy. What I haven't seen anything about like the ratio and how if you were a boy who's a Taylor Swift fan, is it uncomfortable to be in that crowd? I don't know. I've been wondering. Anyway, so these are all things. Welcome to my head in the last 3 days. I've been wondering about this stuff. Oh, dear. So, I, upon an article today, while I was eating my breakfast, and I had to stop eating my breakfast. And if you're eating right now, I would suggest stopping, because this is one of those stories that, okay? And I am only gonna quote from the New York Times piece. Have you heard about this? Affliction? It's like, it's like the plagues in Egypt that led to the Exodus. Mormon crickets. Have you heard about them? Dear God in heaven. First of all, they're not Mormons. And I feel for the Mormons. Again, it's like having your name, or in this case, a religion, sort of taken and put in a place you don't want it. If I'm a Mormon, I'm sorry, I do not want to be associated with this particular insect. Thank you very much. The reason it got called the Mormon cricket is because first of all, it's in Utah. And apparently the early Mormon settlers had to deal with these things. And that's sort of how then began to be called that bug, the Mormon cricket. So it ain't Mormon, and it ain't a cricket either, okay? So that's a misnomer. It sounds like a cricket, but it ain't a cricket. It's a katydid. I always loved that word. I got that you saw it often, but I think maybe in children's books or little poems. Isn't there? Katydid. It's a shield-backed katydid, a ground-dwelling insect native to the western United States. They feed on grass, shrubs, crops, and can really do damage, obviously, to farmers' fields. However, they migrate. And there's something about the fact that there's been such a drought, so many drought conditions in the Southwest, that has increased the numbers of these Mormon crickets. There's one town in particular named Elko that is just infested with, and that's where the story is set. I'm now going to read from the article. They are, quote, springing across densely populated neighborhoods and high-trafficked roads. As vehicles drive over the crickets' bodies, which crack easily like potato chips, their guts spill out. The more crickets that are run over, the thicker the layers that accumulate on the road, leaving a viscous, clay-colored mixture that creates slick driving conditions. The Nevada Department of Transportation has been warning about hazardous driving conditions from Mormon cricket guts that are piled so thick on the roadways that you can lose control of your car, slip in the cricket guts and end up who the hell knows where. It says here, the quantity and spread of the crickets on the road is so pervasive that the department is using plows to clear the slimy brown remains. Scientists say the drought will encourage more and more cricket outbreaks that can last from 5 to 21 years. How do you arrive at that number, 21? 5 to 21 years, and cause substantial economic losses to rangeland, cropland, and home gardens. Just so you're not creeped out. And these things are 2 inches long and have plump bodies. So when they get run over, and they're all over, I mean, there's a picture here of a row. It's just like there's millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of them. And as if this is not horrible enough, when you smash one, it doesn't just create this slippery goo of guts. It stinks to high heaven. It says here, the remains stink like fish or dog feces. I don't think dog feces smell like fish. I'm not whatever. I'm just saying, and they have gotten into people's homes. Someone, takes a book out of a backpack, and a whole bunch of them they've ended up in hair. You hear random people screaming. So anyway, I just wanted you to know about the infestation of Mormon crickets. And I want to thank God for stories like that are happening someplace else so that I don't have to. Oh, and there's this other story. Whoever knew, I'm getting to know more and more about fishing tournaments. Remember that fishing tournament that caught our attention? It was in Ohio, where these guys supposedly won, and then it was found out, because you win by the weight of the fish, and it turned out that they, dropped weights, some kind of, I don't know, a wrench or something down the fish to make it weigh more. And that was like this huge scandal in professional fishing. Because there's money to be had in it. But there's another fish story now, again. And I'm looking at a picture of a whole bunch of happy guys who think they just won this $1 million prize. It was the 65th Big Rock Blue Marlin Tournament in North Carolina this weekend. And, you go out into the ocean and you come back with a marlin. And it took the crew of this boat, a huge crew, more than 6 hours from the time they hooked this magnificent animal to getting it on board their vessel. And when they brought this, I'm looking at a picture of it. It's hanging upside down. It should have been in the, I just, something about humans with their animal trophies that I'm just not into. But these guys are so friggin' happy. The reason being, it weighed almost 620 pounds. Wow. And that'd be a winner. I obviously, you can tell from the way I'm telling the story, they didn't win. These happy guys around this fish. They weren't happy, maybe about 10 minutes after the picture was taken. So it weighed 619.4 pounds. That definitely would have clinched the win because, and you know how much money there was? There was $3.5 million in prize money. Most of it from winning, and almost $800,000 for bringing in the year's first catch above 500 pounds. Who knew that you could make this kind of money fishing? I did not know this. But unlike the guys in Ohio, these guys were not trying to cheat anybody. But they got disqualified. And it's sad. I think. I understand there's always rules. So the MC during this huge celebration ends up saying, okay, guys, can we talk about the rules here for a second? And silence, falls over the crowd. And the MC goes on to say, it would appear that this fish has been bitten by a shark. That was it. Disqualified. There was a chunk of that marlin that was not there. And I guess these guys would know a shark bite when they. And the International Game Fish Association says that a fish is ineligible to win if there is, quote, mutilation to the fish prior to landing or boating the catch caused by sharks, other fish, mammals, or propellers that remove or penetrate the flesh. Disqualified. Wow. Okay, just saying. I feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for the friggin' marlin, too. What a magnificent thing. We have a caller. Hello?
Hello?
Hello, you're getting in under the wire.
Oh, yeah. What's that shark story? I was just thinking as you're talking about the Mormon crickets. You're talking about all the first thing that came to my mind is, I wonder if it could be food. Could it be fertilizer? Is there something they can do with a big pile of protein? It's like,
that's a good point. So plowing it up. Can't they dump it on the field? Throw it in somewhere that needs nutrition. Just spread it. You might have to add a couple chemicals to it, but that's a lot of bugs for a lot of years to do nothing with. You're absolutely right. Figure out how to bottle that stuff.
Yeah, do something with them. Just don't just throw them away. It's like there's got to be a use for them if they're going to shovel them up. And they're going to be there for 5 to 21 years. There's got to be a use for them. But
I'll tell
that's
you,
it.
I'm staying out of the area. I'll tell you that.
Well, you remember the stink bug was going to take over the world? You barely see those things now. I see them occasionally, but that one year they were crazy.
I know. So that plague. I think they kept moving. I think they moved further west.
Yeah. They're going to meet the other stink bugs. Like, you think you stink? Wait till we get here. Fish and feces. Come on, we're better than you. Can do better than that.
Yeah. But there's stories like that make my day. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I thought it was a good story too. Just real quick, I have these weeds. They're called the Japanese something weed that I can't get rid of. They're very invasive. And, I just keep them under control. And I'm like, why can't these be fuel or something? If they can grow that fast and you can't kill them, why can't you use something? Make something out of them.
Well, you're right. You have an entrepreneurial thought there, and somebody should run with it.
Yeah, exactly. I can only think up stuff. You ask me to do work. That's a whole nother story.
All right, you.
All right.
Good to talk to you.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Okay, and I do have a quick programming note. Tomorrow is my last show of the week. I have guests arriving momentarily, and actually I thought tomorrow maybe one of them will join me and Susan, and we'll do a regular Tuesday show, but then I'm out for the count. And so tomorrow, okay? Enjoy this day, but I guess don't breathe too heavily again. Don't inhale too much because some Canadians, I'm telling you, no, it's global warming. Welcome to our new world. It's pretty, though. All right, toodaloo.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.